Y makes an E sound a lot of times. So did you know that Y is a vowel? Have I taught you that? That Y is a vowel most of the time? And I'm talking like most of the time. It's only a consonant if it's the first letter, like yes or yellow, or the first letter of a syllable, but that's very rare. So Y is only a consonant if it's the first letter of a word or a syllable, and that doesn't happen very often. So it only says y, that sound that we learned when we were in kindergarten. It only says y very rarely. Most of the time it sounds like an E or an I. And today you're going to learn, are you ready for this? I love this rule. When you hear an E sound at the end of the word, if it's a long multi-syllable word, spell it with a Y. Let me show you a whole bunch of examples here in the chat. Words like happy, candy, oops, I spelled that wrong, candy, pretty, city, slowly, quickly. There are lots. If you can think of any words that end with a E sound spelled with a Y, you know, put it in the chat. So when you hear E at the end, yeah, kitty, kitty, Missy, yeah, very good. So when you hear E at the end, are you going to put an E there? No, don't put an E there. Most of the time, E at the end is silent. Once in a while, not very often. I can count them on one hand, how many times, probably only just a few fingers, how many times the E at the end of a longer word actually says E. You'll see it at the end of a word like maybe, but most of the time, E at the end is silent, right? So most of the time, I'm talking 99% of the time, if you hear E, that sound E at the end of a word, use a Y to spell it. Okay, you ready? Let me see if I got any others in the chat. Yeti, that's a good one. Oh, thank you for the birthday wishes. My brother's name is Brody. See, let me see if we have any other Y at the end of a word names here. Emily, that's one. Melanie, if that had a Y at the end. Kathy, Shelley, it went, yeah. Brody, Lucky, Skippy. Yeah, you're getting it. You're getting it. So let's practice that. Let me share my screen. Okay. So together we are, oh, let me just tell you this real quick. So this is for longer words. Words that qualify as longer means it has more than one syllable, 2 syllables. And you know if it has 2 syllables or more, if there are 2 vowels that don't touch. Okay? So a word is longer if there are 2 vowels that don't touch each other. That qualifies as a multi-syllable word, and that's when this rule applies, where if you hear an E sound at the end of a word, use a Y. That's not going to work for short words, because look at all of these examples. We have be, he, she, me, we. See, E at the end is spelled with an E in those, but those are short. So that doesn't, it's a different rule. If you hear E at the end of a 1-syllable word, you can go ahead and use an E. You're not going to use a Y. Y at the end of a short word says I, and we want the E sound. Short words use E, longer words use Y. Okay, here we go. Here we go. We are going to spell our first word together. It is ebentry. We're starting off strong, right? Starting off with a challenge. Ebentry. Let's do this one together. We have e. Now I can see that there are 3 vowels that don't touch. Do you see that? That means it's a 3-syllable word. We're going to spell those vowels last. So let's do the consonants. E. Now, you already know how to put what you're going to put here, right? But let's just go in order here. So for the S sound, I always try an E first, just a regular E to spell eh. However, can this E say eh in this spot? It can't because there's another vowel one or two doors away. That would force it to say E. I don't want it to say E. I want it to say eh. That requires two consonants after it. If there's not two, make two. Now it can say eh. For this eh sound, I'm going to start with an E. Can it say eh here? Yeah, because there's already two consonants after it, so we're golden. And then for the E sound at the end of a longer word, I'm going to spell it with a Y. McMurtrey. How was that? It might have started off a little intimidating. You're like, wait a minute, that's a long word to start off with, but look at how easy it is when you know how to do it. Good job, Emily. Okay, your word to try on your own is edesty. Now, hint. There's no R in this word. Okay? Edesty. Edesty. Ed. S. T. E. Go for it. Put it in the chat when you're done. Edesty. Edesty. There you go. Nice, Amber. Nice, Connor. Edesty. Good. Good. Edesty. Make sure that you have the same number of lines as sounds. Oh my heck, I love teaching this class. You guys are so cute. All right, consonants. We have d, s, t, e, vowels. I want this E to say A. Can it right here? No, it can't because there's a vowel one or two doors down. That would force it to say E. I don't want it to say E. I want it to say E. So an E requires two consonants after it. If there's not two, make two. Now it can say E. For this S sound, I want to start with an E. Can it say E here? Yeah, because there's already two consonants after it. And then for the E sound at the end of a longer word, I'm going to use a Y. At the end of a longer word, for the E sound, I'm going to use a Y. There we go. If you didn't get it, I bet you were close. I bet you were close if you didn't get it. If you're just one or two letters off, that means you got the most of those sounds right. You got most of the sounds right, and that is something to be happy about. Next. This one might be a little tricky, so I want you to do this with me before you do it on your own. Here's why. Here's why. Because I want you to get it right. Okay? I want to always set you up for success. And I don't want you to guess ever. You might have been in the habit of just having to guess your way through a word. We're trying to stop that habit. Okay? We're training our brain to not just guess and pick a random letter to put there. That is our old self. We don't have to do that anymore. So for this next word, I want you to hang on, do it with me first, so I can set you up for success. So when you do it on your own, you can get it right without having to guess, okay? Deal? Okay, our word is, now it might sound simple, but just hang with me, follow along with me. Treeply. Treeply. We have T-R-E, P-L-E. Okay, it has two vowels, so I know that that E sound at the end is going to be spelled with a Y. But let's do consonants first, like always. T-R-E, P-L-E. Okay, now this is the tricky part. I want this to say E here. Can it? No, because there's not a vowel in the next one or two spots. If there's not one, make one. Okay, so we have to have an EE right here, right? And then for the E sound at the end of a word, we use a Y. You knew that part. You probably knew this too because you knew how to spell the word tree, but we're not spelling the word tree. And word sounds are spelled differently if they are in the middle of a word than if they are their own word a lot of the time. So even though tree is spelled that way, it might not be spelled that way within another word. In this case, it happens to be true. But try your word now on your own, okay? Sleepy. Sleem. My mouth is closed there in the middle. Sleepy. Go for it. S-O-E-M-P-E. We're spelling sleepy. We're spelling sleepy. Nice. We're spelling sleep. It's kind of like sleepy, isn't it? But there's a right before the p. That's why we do that warm up in the middle. I mean, at the beginning of each class, we're warming up our brain to make sure that we can put sounds in right in the middle of words. Sleepy. Sleepy. Yeah, your autocorrect might change it, but if it does, you can fix it. Sleepy. Good. Yeah, sometimes you have to like spread out the letters so that autocorrect won't come in and change your word. Okay, let's try it. Consonants. S, L, E, M, P, E. Sleepy. For the E sound right here, can I leave it with just a E? I want it to say E. That requires another vowel in the next one or two spots. Uh-oh, there's not one here. So that E right now says eh. That would say slampy. I don't want eh, I want E. But in order for it to say its name, there has to be a vowel one or two doors away. If there's not one, make one. Now that E can say E. And then the E sound at the end of a multi-syllable word is spelled with a Y. Right? Sleepy, sleepy. If you didn't get all the letters right, I bet you got most of them right. Good job. Next. E-meply. Together. E, M, E, P, L, E. Consonants. E, M, E, P, L, E. Vowels. E. Can E say E here? Sure can, because there's a vowel already one or two doors away. Can this E say here? Sure can, because there's not a vowel one or two doors away. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. I think I just made a new chant. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. You want to say that? E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. All right. That's sweet. Okay, next. Your word is e-desty. E-desty. E-D-S-T-E. Go for it. Now I want this sound in the middle to say this short sound. This one's going to say E. This one's going to say There you go. I knew you could do it. There you go. Right on. Nice, nice. I love your emojis, Emily. Those are so cute. E-desty. Okay, let's do our consonants. E, D, E, S, T, E. Vowels. Can this E say E here? It sure can, my friends, because there's already a vowel one or two doors away. It is golden right there. Can this E say right here? It sure can, my friends, because there are already two consonants after it. So it is golden. And then for the E sound at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. All right. Number 4. Okay, hard one. Hard word alert. Hard word alert. If you don't want to do it, you can put your pencil down and just watch. Okay? If you want to try it watch me first. Our word is prestemi. Prestemi. P, r, e, s, t, e, m, e. Consonants. P, r, e, s, t, e, m, e. Vowels. Can this say here? Yep, because there's 2 consonants after it. Good. Can this say here? Nope. Uh-oh, there's a vowel 1 or 2 doors away. What do I have to do? In order for this E to say it has to have 2 consonants after it. If there's not 2, make 2. Now it's happy. Now I can say And then for the E sound at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. Prestemi. Good. Okay. Your word is, are you ready for this one? Phlegm. Mouth is closed there in the middle. Phlegm pebby. Phlegm pebby. F, o, e, m, p, e, b, e. Phlegm pebby. Phlegm pebby. Phlegm pebby. Phlegm pebby. Take your time. This is the hardest one we're going to do all day right now. Nice, Elias. Phlegm pebby. Phlegm b is almost to the end. Phlegm pebby. Okay. One more second because this is a hard one. Okay. Consonants. Full Now you might have thought that there was no in that word because the sounds are full You might have thought that M is one sound because it's the name of that letter M. But M is 2 sounds. There's and then there's So we have to put a line for each one of those sounds. Here's the here's the And then we have p, b, e. All right. Vowels. For the S sound, can I put just a regular old E here and not have to double anything? I sure can because there's already 2 consonants after it. It's golden. It's so happy right there. For this E to say oh no. There's another vowel 1 or 2 doors away. What am I going to do? You know what I'm going to do, don't you? I have to double that B. Now it's nice and happy with those 2 consonants after it. Now it can say And then for the E sound at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. Now, I think only 1 or 2 people got that one. That was hard, right? Should we end with an easier one? How about this one? Free plea. Free plea. There's an ul in there. F-r-e, p-ul-e. First of all, make sure that you have 6 lines. Okay? F-r-e, p-ul-e. I shouldn't have said this one was easier. I mean, it's a little easier, but it's not easy. Free. Nice, Nimat or she. Free plea. Oh, well done, Emily. Nice, Amber. Good, Connor. Free plea. See, after we do a hard, like a monster hard one, then you're like, all the rest of them are so easy, right? Even though they're not. You just think they're easy because they're easier than the monster hard ones. But if I wouldn't have given you a monster hard one, then this one might have seemed hard. But now that you can do the hard ones, these easier ones are like piece of cake for you. All right, consonants. E, P, L, E. Vowels. I want this E to say E here, but it can't because there's two consonants after it. In order for it to say its name, it has to have another vowel, one or two doors down. If there's not one, make one. And then E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. There's free play. Now, how do you feel about what you have learned today? You have learned that what? Say it with me. E at the end of a longer word is spelled with a Y. Did you already know that, or is that new to you? If you did know it, now it's stapled in. Now you know it even harder, right? If you didn't know it, then welcome to your new information in your brain that's going to be there forever now. Now you know that when you hear an E sound at the end of a multisyllable word, you're going to spell it with a Y. Congratulations on your new knowledge. You're amazing. Have a good week and we'll see you next week. Bye, my friends.